This video is in our Applications of Supply and Demand series. The point of this one is to define deadweight loss for you. By the end of this video, you'll be able to determine deadweight loss due to a regulation, and you'll be able to show it graphically. When we say regulation, we really mean something like a price control. So a price ceiling or a price floor. If you haven't watched that video or the videos on consumer surplus and producer surplus yet, you are going to be so lost. It's so funny. So go back and make sure you watch those. In the previous video, which you should totally watch, we determined consumer, producer, and social surplus for a whole allocatively efficient market. That's one with no constraints on it. Now let's ruin it with a regulation. Without any price controls, remember, we had an equilibrium at a price of 5 and a quantity of 4. And let's say we have a nosy nutrition professor who's going to petition for pizza rolls to have a minimum price of $10 in order to discourage students from buying them, which would probably work. So without any price controls, we still have our standard equilibrium, but at this price, once we put our price ceiling into our price floor into play, let's go ahead and let's just label this. This is a price floor, right? Because it's too high and it's making us uncomfortable. One student is willing to buy, right? Because if we look at where this price intersects our demand curve, we drop that down and we see that is a quantity of 1 and the price is $10. So with the price floor, we're going to get consumer surplus in this little triangle going from 12 down to 10 over 1. That's going to give us half of 2 times 1. It's half because it's a triangle. So we end up with half of 2, which is 1. Producer's surplus, though, it's this Well, if you remember the formula for finding the area of a trapezoid, that's cool, but I usually will just break this down into one triangle, which is down here, right? And I'm kind of squiggling that in green. And then one rectangle, which is very long and skinny here. The triangle has a base and height of 1, so we end up with half as its contribution. And the rectangle is 1 unit wide, but it's 10 minus 2, that's 8 units high. 1 times 8 is 8. So if we add, by the way, that's a rectangle, so don't cut it in half. If we add the rectangle to the triangle, we get 8.5. Some of this, by the way, like the area that I'm squiggling in green here, kind of above 5 and below 10, that was consumer surplus in our allocatively efficient market, but now it's been captured by producers selling it at a higher price. So that's what you get, guy who's willing to pay $10 for a pizza roll. Social surplus, take our 1 from consumer surplus plus our 8.5 from producer surplus, and we get social surplus of 9.5. That's our total area. As a reminder from the previous video, in an allocatively efficient market, we had social surplus of 22, but now it's 9.5. So there's a difference here of 12.5, and that's just what happened to it. Yeah, what happened? Oh no. The remaining area is lost surplus. That's kind of what I'm squiggling in green here. That remaining area is lost surplus from mutually beneficial trades that were prevented. Let's clean this up a little bit. That remaining area is called deadweight loss, or I usually abbreviate it DWL, D for dead, W for weight, L for loss. What is Well, when a trade could generate surplus for both people. Remember on a previous video, we had Clara producing widgets for $20, selling them for $25, to Tabitha, who would have been willing to pay $50. Both of them get a surplus from it, and it's called mutually beneficial. if this trade is made illegal and prevented, the surplus isn't captured by anybody else. It's not like somebody at the government is going, "Wha ha ha! I'm taking all this surplus for myself." No, people are just sad, right? The surplus isn't captured by anybody else. It's just sadness, and we call that deadweight loss. That's surplus lost when mutually beneficial trades are prevented. So let's figure this out. The free market surplus was 22. The surplus with a price control was 9.5. So the difference here is 12.5. That's no fun, right? So we had 12.5 is our deadweight loss. So let's do a practice problem. In a previous video, we found the equilibrium here was a price of 40 and a quantity of 12. We found social surplus of 480, consumer surplus of 360, producer surplus of 120. What happens if we put a price ceiling of 30 into place, right? What if we say you can't sell at any price higher than 30? We're going to calculate consumer surplus, producer surplus, and deadweight loss. Pause the video and try it. Okay, pause the video and try it. I'll come back in just a moment. Did you try it? Good. So let's do that. So consumer surplus, let's break this down. I filled it in blue, right? So consumer surplus is one triangle that I'm outlining here in green, and then one rectangle that's down here that I'm cross-hatching. So the triangle goes from 0 to 6 on the base and 100 down to 70 on the height. The rectangle is base of 0 to 6, height 70 down to 30. And then producer surplus, the base is 6 and the height is 10. All right. So, don't want to do all the math for you here. I wrote it out for you. But we'll see that consumer surplus is 330. If you take the triangle, which is 90, and add it to the 240, which is the rectangle, you get 330. Producer surplus is just the triangle, it's 30, right? So total social surplus is 360. Was 480, now 360. The difference is deadweight loss is 120. But if you wanted to, you could also just find the area of this yellow triangle, which is our deadweight loss. And you'll see if you work the math out there. We have a 70 here, down to a 30 here, and then a 12 to a 6. So our base is 6, height is 40, half of base times height is 120. Hey, that's the same number. 120 is the same as 120, so it doesn't matter what method you use.